The coming of December and the Christmas season often brings out the closeness shared by friends, family, and the community. But 35 years ago, the strength of those bonds was demonstrated when the city of Evansville was struck by a great tragedy.
The atmosphere on this campus has always been a close relationship between students and faculty, and certainly a great love for their athletic teams.
Well, you have to kind of go back in time. This was 1977. This was before the internet. It was before cable television. I mean, there was limited entertainment venues. The University of Evansville basketball team was a part of this community, a big part of this community, an entertainment part of this community. This was a big deal to go to an Aces game at Robert Stadium. So we had I think people knew the coaches, they knew the players, and they were like stars in this community.
I was amazed at the sense of connection that the members of the Evansville community have in associating themselves with the University of Evansville.
Just these players became your friends, even though you didn't know them, but you knew their names, you even knew the people on the bench.
This was especially tragic because of the closeness and the size of this campus being smaller.
The crash happened December 13th, 1977.
It was a very ugly December night, and it was rainy. It was a little icy. It was just a cold evening.
I was working that night. I had just finished the 6 o'clock news. I
remember sitting in the lower area of my house.
And I was in the newsroom when the first reports of something happening at the airport. We didn't exactly know what was going on, but but you could tell the urgency in the voices of the dispatcher and the police officers and the firefighters who were responding.
You wouldn't think in the lower level of your home you would be able to hear something as loudly as I did hear this aircraft, but I was sitting there and heard an airplane go over, and I specifically remember stopping, listening, and thinking that aircraft is too low.
And so people started putting two and two together. Well, could that be the plane carrying the Aces basketball team?
And then about a half an hour later, there was a knock on our door, and it was some of the young teenage boys who lived next door saying that they had been down near the airport and saw strewn all over on the side of the hill the jerseys of our basketball team.
A very tragic scene. The plane went down about a minute after takeoff.
The nose of the plane was buried in the ground several feet.
They're unable to raise the aircraft, and the aircraft does not respond, and the tower operator says they crashed 3 times. And then, of course, the emergency equipment was dispatched right after that.
When rescue units arrived at that muddy scene, they found only one survivor. The young man was taken to Deaconess Hospital. He died a short time later.
The bodies were loaded on a rail car and taken to local funeral homes.
The worst tragedy that I can recall in Evansville history.
How it impacted this community, it was devastating for it, for not only the rest of that academic year, but for semesters to come and years to come after that.
Still not easy. We're still in a state of shock here, but we tried to share our grief and our faith in the Lord at a chapel service just now.
I'll never forget how this community mourned. It just wasn't students on the campus and faculty that had worked with these individuals. It was the entire community.
I can't explain it. I don't understand what happened.
It's unbelievable. It's kind of indescribable, isn't it?
There's not enough words really to express.
No, unfortunately, at this time, the English language just is not very effective in expressing the grief.
It's just a great loss to everybody, and there's just like an empty feeling inside.
I mean, this was an event like none other, that I think it was heartbreaking, but it also pulled this area together.
You think the student body's got to pull together and kind of lean on each other to get through this?
I think they'll have to. Oh, the spirit was really getting up, you know, with the ACES, and I think this is even going to pull us closer together.
Part of the healing process after a tragedy is how the community comes together, and certainly the community here did that.
I think that the student body and the faculty here will be able to kind of pull themselves together and come out a little better for the experience.
Well, those young men deserve that, don't they?
The basketball team and the others who died were courageous and talented people, and they gave everything for the university, and we must do the same in our ways.
10 years after the tragic accident, University of Evansville alumni Bob Harp wrote a letter to the university newspaper. In it, he said this: "I have given a lot of thought to that tragedy during these past 10 years, and I have learned two important truths. First, life is a fragile gift, not to be taken for granted. The length of life is never certain. Therefore, each day of life must be lived to its fullest. Second, relationships are a gift. We are born into this world with relationships of family, but as we grow, we develop relationships with friends. Family and friends. Family and friends are life's greatest treasures, and the person who takes the time to develop these relationships is indeed rich. During this Christmas season, let us remember the gifts are not just found under the Christmas tree, but they are found around the tree. They are you and me.